Hello, team players. The full Starfinder 2E game is finally out, and that means I can start covering builds. And today we're building a soldier. Let's dive in. So our goal here is to take hits and hit enemies with area damage. But we're gonna have to be careful because we're not taking the bombard fighting style, which means that we have a greater chance of hitting our allies with our area attacks, which is bad. But as long as we're careful about it, we should be okay. For today's Ancestry, we're going with the renewed android. Even though we're going to have massive hit points as a soldier, there will be times when we will fall unconscious. The renewed android lets us avoid the wounded condition the first time we go down. It also really helps with our recall knowledge, which we do want to be somewhat smart in this build, as we're not playing something like a barbarian where intelligence doesn't matter. For our attributes, Constitution is going to be our most important. That's what most of our abilities are going to go off of. The second thing we're going to need is Dexterity, as we need to be able to hit enemies. And we'll be using ranged attacks here, so Dexterity is important. You might also need some Strength, depending on how you want to play this build. But otherwise, you really don't need anything else. As for skills, there's quite a few you're going to need here. You're going to need Intimidation, Computers, Medicine, and Diplomacy. Those are the main ones. Otherwise, pick what skills you want. For our level 1 Ancestry feat, we're going with Nanite Surge. This lets us get a pretty good bonus on skill checks once per hour, which can be very handy. We're going to be taking a lot of feats that use these nanites as well, so this is a very important feat for this build. For our class feat, we're going with Pin Down. Now we can suppress targets even if they succeed on the saving throw against our area attacks, which is big. Suppress is like the main thing that soldiers do, so doing it on a successful save is a big deal. At level 2, where we're going to be taking You'll Have to Go Through Me. This gives us a living shield reaction. Until the start of our next turn, or until we move, the living shield reaction allows us to reduce damage on an ally and take that damage ourselves, which we have a ton of hit points, and our ally might not. So we can take a little damage to reduce damage on an ally. At level 3, we're going to be taking Canny Acumen for our reflex saves. We are going to have good dex, but our reflex save is still going to be pretty low. And we won't get higher reflex saves for a good long while. So we might as well take this here. At level 4, we're going to take Overwhelming Assault. This gives us a lower multiple attack penalty against suppressed targets, making them even easier to hit. So as long as the target is suppressed, it's like we're using an agile weapon, which is great. For our level 5 Ancestry feat, we're going to be taking Protective Subroutine, which allows us to use our Nanite Surge to increase our saving throws as well as skill checks. So we now have even more defense on top of our massive HP. At level 6, we have Intimidating Taunt. So enemies take a penalty on their attack rolls if they attack anybody but us. I really wish this feat was on the Guardian. That'd be amazing. But it's not. But what this does do is allow us to better protect our allies. At level 7, it's Toughness for even more hit points than we already have, which is phenomenal. I always say to take Toughness, but for this particular build, it's by far one of the best general feats you can take. It's just more hit points on top of what we already have. At level 8, we'll be taking Ammo Hoarder. We're going to be using an automatic weapon in this build, and this will let us use less ammo. So we won't have to reload it near as much, which is, again, a big deal. For our level 9 Ancestry feat, we're going to take Offensive Subroutine, allowing us to use Nanite Surge on our attack rolls rather than just our defenses and our skills. So we'll have an easier time hitting. At level 10, we'll take Shell Shower. So when we use area fire or auto fire, we're creating difficult terrain in the area, making it harder for enemies to get or to move around, which is another way we can more easily hit them and make them waste actions, which is a really big deal. Of course, at level 11, we're going to be taking Die Hard, so we don't die as easily. I mean, granted, we're going to have massive hit points, so we're not going to use this too often, but it is good to have for when we need it. But especially with our renewed Android heritage, this isn't as big of a deal as it would be for other builds. But we still want it, because, dying at dying 5 rather than dying 4 is very, very good. At level 12, it's Bullet Hell. So when we use area fire or auto fire, we can create hazardous terrain, and if they fail the reflex save, they're suppressed. Another fantastic way of getting the suppressed condition, and they're taking damage if they move through the area we attacked, which is phenomenal. Especially when combined with the last class feat we took that makes difficult terrain when we use our area or auto fire attacks. So it's difficult and hazardous terrain. So they're losing actions and taking damage every time they move. Awesome feat here. At level 13, we're going to take Consistent Surge, allowing us to use Nanite Surge more often. For any of the things we can use Nanite Surge for. Skills, or saving throws, or attack rolls. Very handy feat to have. At level 14, it's Run Cowards. So our area fire or auto fire attacks make some foes flee like the pussies they are, as long as they fail to save against this. And if they're fleeing, then they aren't attacking us. Phenomenal. Granted, it is a little annoying to chase them down, but better than them attacking us or any of our party members. And sometimes we just want to let them go, to be honest. But either way, this is a great feat to have. And finally, at level 15, we'll take Fleet to give us a little more speed. Extra speed is always pretty good. Even on a build like this, there isn't exactly built for speed. And that's the Mecha Soldier done. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a like. And subscribe to the channel if you want more Starfinder content. You can also leave a comment on this build or tear my build apart. I'm not perfect. I'm sure there's better feats that you guys might want to take than the ones I picked here. Especially since I'm pretty new to Starfinder. I didn't even play Starfinder 1, so I absolutely want to hear from you guys as to how I can improve builds like this. Make sure you check out my second channel, Team Player Gaming, for my Pathfinder content. And if you want to talk Starfinder or Pathfinder builds, or anything else, my Discord is where you want to be. And of course, if you like my Starfinder content, I got another video for you right here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, teamwork is vital. It helps us solve problems.